In this week's show, have I been unfair to the Amstrad for decades? Can it really hold its own against the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64? And what about all the games that only came out for Amstrad? With the help of Amtix Issue 1, I hope to finally find the truth. Hello, yes, it is me, it is Jace at Retrogames. How are you? Happy Friday, and I'm here to ask a really big question on this special show this week. What do you think of Amstrad?
Well, they bought Sinclair for £5 million, and then they ran it into the ground. Why do you ask?
Well, the reason I asked was because of this. Now, this is Amtix magazine. And our regular viewers will know I'm a huge fan of those early Newsfield magazines. Your Crash for the ZX Spectrum, your Zap for the Commodore 64. But there was a third variant that we don't really talk much about, and that was Amtix for the Amstrad CPC. Now, I am guilty of being anti-Amstrad. Right at the very beginning of the Retro Games story, I didn't cover any Amstrad in the Retro Games magazine, and by the time we started selling stuff like 1996, 1997, I didn't have an Amstrad section, and when people used to ask me, oh, what you got for the Amstrad, what you got, I just say, get out, you're not worthy, you're not welcome. Yeah, crazy, because I was cutting off part of the audience for retro gaming, because a lot of us grew up with the Amstrad. I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't have an Amstrad. I may have looked down on those who did back in the playground days, because it was Spectrum, Commodore, and then the really weird kids over there with the BBC Model B, and then some new boys on the block with the Amstrad, and we always said, yeah, that's the worst version. The Spectrum version, the Commodore version, they went head to head, but the Amstrad had the worst version. Was that true? Well, my good old friend Rusty, to fight back this anti-Amstrad malaise, said, I'm going to send you issue 1 of Amtix. Maybe you can go through it on the show, because the magazine shows have been quite popular when I've gone through old magazines. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. Let's check out Amtix issue 1. Let's play some of the games. Let's compare some of those games to the Commodore 64 and Spectrum versions, and see if we can maybe have some newfound love for the Amstrad CPC.
What's on the table?
So fans of Newsfield will know that Ollie Frey is the guy who did all these covers. And let's be honest, this issue 1 of Amtix, and even the name Amtix is rubbish, isn't it? Crash, Zap, this should have been called Pow, or I don't know. It's just Amtix. Yeah, rubbish. We agreed, aren't we? We agreed. Now this is a bit later than the Crash. Crash started in 1983, I think, and Zap maybe 84, and Amtix in 85, November 85. So it's quite late to the party. There are other Amstrad magazines that are well established at this point in time. But the thing about the Newsfield magazines is they brought that real dedication to gaming. It was a proper games magazine. They didn't really care for any serious stuff. It was all about video games, and that's why we all loved them. Anyway, yeah, so that's a pretty uninspired cover. Okay, it's turned an Amstrad CPC. I mean, the Amstrad CPC is so huge. It's such a wide machine. They could only get the one corner in his artwork, put some jet thrusters and pretend it's a spaceship. God knows what's happening with the rest of the Amstrad over there. And there's people looking on a cliff top thinking, why? I like this little comment at the bottom. The complete index starts here. The complete index of games. And that was a thing in the early Crash issues. They wanted to cover every single release. Which is a brilliant way forward. You know, video games magazines didn't stop doing that. They stopped even trying to cover all the games released. And I've always argued, I mean, say your magazines like Edge or Games TM back in the 90s and the early 2000s, if they really did try and review, even short review, every single game that came out that month, that would be exciting, wouldn't it? That would be exciting, because you know, I mean, huge job, especially when we got onto phone games. And anyway, I digress. I just think it's sad that we had monthly review magazines that didn't review every single game, and we wanted scores for every single game so we can compare and contrast and database every single title that came out for every single machine. That's the kind of anal idiots we are.
Boy, speak for yourself, Jace.
Moving on. Okay, let's turn the page. So this is, we're going to go through the magazine, and I'm going to pick out anything that's exciting. And straight away, we've got this great big double page spread there from US Gold. US Gold games, yeah, okay, they came out for Amstrad too. Dam Busters, Raid over Moscow. It was called just Raid at that point. They dropped over the Moscow. I guess, you know, all the changes politically, Raid over Moscow suddenly seemed a bit like troublesome, so they dropped it. Here's some adverts: Alienate and Night Law. Now, we all know these games from the ZX Spectrum. They are seminal. First ever isometric adventure game on the Spectrum was Night Law. So yeah, what's Night Law like and Alienate like on the Amstrad? Well, let's just start and have a look at that before we get to the reviews or anything. Let's just have a look. So let's say Night Law, Spectrum versus Amstrad. Let's go.
Here we go then, the classic Spectrum version. This still fills me with a sense of awe when I see it. It really was an incredibly groundbreaking game. Probably one of the most groundbreaking games of all time. Here we are in werewolf mode. It's pretty fast. It's still really playable. But it does slow down a little when there's a lot on the screen. Let's check this next screen. Yeah. Okay, slowing down. Let's compare this with the Amstrad. Okay, straight away I'm liking the bit of colour. That does make a difference. And when he's still having his funny fit as he turns into a werewolf. I'm not sure I like this music as you walk along. The Spectrum didn't have that. Oh, okay, so here we go for slow down. And that tune makes it seem slower than it is, surely. Now we've got to push the table and block the night. Oh my god. No, come on, now that is ridiculously slow. That seems slower than the Spectrum version. This isn't just me, is it? I guess we've got to go side by side. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's much slower. I'm sorry, Amstrad, you're slower.
So we've got loads of letters. Again, you've got some of that Ollie artwork. Ollie artwork, that's what I call it. Ollie Frey, the late, much missed Ollie Frey. Did the artwork around the pages as well, in the black and white stuff, all the mono stuff. There's some news. There's news. Strange, isn't it? The first issue of a magazine, but it's got news pages. Updates. Prepare yourself for the Highway Encounter, another game famous on the Spectrum. I'll save looking at them more until we get to the reviews. Well, luckily that review is Highway Encounter. Now, if you look at these screenshots, that looks incredibly similar to the ZX Spectrum game, doesn't it? I mean, they've sold an advert. Really, I mean, they've sold that advert saying, we'll review the game, because this is what they used to do. We will review your game if you place a big full-page advert. So then you've got the full-page advert, prepare yourself, and then you've got the review. I mean, it's blatant, but that is how 1980s magazines worked. If you wanted to get your game covered, because they couldn't cover every single game, you had to spend a bit of dosh on some full-page adverts. Now, on Highway Encounter is a classic. Overall, they've given that 92%, which I think, yeah, fair enough. It is a classic game. Let's move on. I'm hoping there's some games here that only came out on the Amstrad, because the next one, again, this is what they called them, Amtix Accolade. So you had the Zap Sizzler and the Crash Smash. That's what, if you got over 90%, that's where though some you got a Crash Smash or a Zap Sizzler for 89 or 88% occasionally. But yeah, Dragon Talk of Avalon, that's the sequel to Avalon by our old friends at Houston. And yeah, and they've smashed this on 91%. I've always found that Avalon and Dragon Talk to be a little bit tedious. They do look more, it does look a little bit more colourful than the Spectrum version. Shall we go for it? Alright, okay, Dragon Talk, Spectrum versus Amstrad.
I always found these games messy to look at and messy to play. In still screens they look okay, but these graphics are so packed full of colour clash. On the Amstrad, the main character is more colourful. He has a yellow hat. But the Amstrad is also packed full of colour clash. Has the Amstrad got high-res colour or not? I think both versions are pretty dire. Even scores on this one.
Okay, we've got Starry On by Melbourne House, not a classic. Boulder Dash, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. I mean, we're early, aren't we? 1985. You know, we're not pushing the boundaries of any hardware at this state, really. They're comfortable games. They fit well in the memory and the speed and the specs of their dedicated formats. Do you think? What is he on about? I don't know. Okay, well, we've got Laser Warp by Amsoft. Now they've given this. This is Laser Warp. Amsoft. Our old friend Alan Sugar released a lot of software for the Amstrad himself. So yeah, they're on the Amstrad label, or what they call it, Amsoft label. There's loads of games and reissues of games that they licensed and then remade for the Amstrad. And one of those is Laser Warp. And they've given that 43%, so that's pretty bad. Football Manager, the classic game by our friend Kevin Toms, 59% on the Amstrad. Airwolf, now this is a game which got a Crash Smash. That's a Crash Smash in Crash, and incredibly tough to play. I did do a playing video of that once. They've given the Amstrad version 79%. The thing is about Airwolf, it's a game, once you've played it, you'll never forget it, because it's the most cruel, tough game that's ever been out for an 8-bit machine, I'm sure. Non-Terraqueous, that's a Mastertronic budget game that came out for all the 8-bit formats. What did they give that? They gave that 81%, but not bad for a budget. Juggernaut, that is a game that I really like on the Spectrum. Is it P-Cook? Is it? Yeah, it is a P-Cook game. This is a good point, actually. So this is the Juggernaut review, this box here. You see we've got Games Index, short reviews over here where they just give one rating, like Technician Ted there got 85%, and that's a classic. But yeah, this Juggernaut goes to this steering bit, then and then the sentence stops, and you think, well, where's the rest of the review, where's the scores? They're not on that page. They're on the next page, but they're on this side of the next page. So you have to struggle to try and find where the review completes. Criticism, okay, and what did they give? They gave that 71%, Juggernaut. That was a tricky game, trying to reverse that lorry into parking spaces. I enjoyed it though, I enjoyed it. Yeah, so, okay. Quite a lacklustre review there for Alien 8 on the Amstrad.
Which, just like Night Law, is more colourful than the Spectrum version, but much, much slower.
They gave it 92%. Well, you've already seen it. You can make your own mind up. Okay, now this is a game that is familiar to most owners of an Amstrad CPC, and that is Roland Ahoy. Roland. I don't know why, but Roland was the voice of Amsoft. He made lots of Roland on the Ropes. Roland Goes Digging. No, that's Cuthbert. But you know what I mean? It's one of them, like, oh, let's get this guy's name in everything and it will help sell titles. Never did well. But Roland Ahoy, they've only given 39%. Let's just see what the Amstrad was all about. This is an original Amstrad game. This did not come out in other formats. Let's play Roland Ahoy.
So most of the action takes place on this screen. This is the map screen. And you'll see there that it's Golden Harbour, and it's got some walls. It's got some walls which I'm trying to shoot down with my cannons. The problem is you quickly run out of ammo. I'm not going to fit through there. And they've got to go back to Powder Key. Here we're going to dock here. And then we're going to steal some cannonballs. I know. What a game. And then we get back in our ship. And let's go and make that door a bit wider. Then we can get through to Golden Harbour. I think that's enough. That's enough. Golden Harbour. Yes, now we're going to steal that £25 and we're back in our boat to the map screen. Let's go and attack another area. It's not exactly Sid Meier's Pirates, is it?
Yes, that's why I got 39%. Here is Finders Keepers, the classic, the first in the Magic Knight trilogy. You may know Spellbound and Nighttime. They've given that an Amtix accolade, 91%. Fair enough. Beachhead, 57%. Test Cricket. I don't want to play that. Now there's a game I'm not sure I know. Chopper Squad by Interceptor Micros. Now they've given this a 21%. I don't know if this came out for any other formats. I'm curious. Let's check out Chopper Squad for the Amstrad.
I always struggle with the percentage ratings games get. This game is like a version of Jetpack. What's wrong with it? Not a lot. 21%. Now you collect plane parts. I've speeded this up. You can see I'm whizzing around. You take the plane parts off the screen, and at the top right you'll see the plane is slowly being constructed. So it's like Jetpack with the rockets, but you're making planes instead. But I do like the sound of the shooting sections. If you're shooting, listen to it. It's like a rhythmic dance track.
Dumark's View to a Kill, the James Bond licensed game, that only got a 45% rating. I'm not surprised, it didn't do particularly well on any format. Sorcery Plus, now this came out for other formats I'm sure, but it was bigger on the Amstrad, and this looks like they've gone to town. They've given this an Amtix accolade, they've given it 90%. I see this game a lot. Let's check it. I know it came out for Atari ST as well. We've got some of those in stock. But let's check out the Amstrad version of Sorcery Plus. I think it's by Virgin.
You may well have played this on other formats. You play a witch. collecting spells and collecting items. It's a bit like a Dizzy game with less walking about, more hovering, more pigs' heads flying through space. Graphically, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. It doesn't look like a Spectrum game. A lot of the Amstrad content looks exactly like the Spectrum version. Like they've taken the Spectrum version, run it through a special compiler program, and boom, you've got the Spectrum version running on an Amstrad. I mean, colour-wise, you have to say the Amstrad is better than the Commodore 64. It's not like all brown, is it? It's quite good. A very varied palette of colours on each screen. And this game isn't particularly slow either. A lot of the games we've seen have really slowed down with lots of stuff on screen. I know there's not much on screen in this game, but it's whizzing along. The animation's pretty good on those ghosts as well. And I haven't even mentioned that the doors sound like farts.
Here we have a beautiful Ollie Frey drawn Amtix competition, and it's a spot the difference between these two pictures. You can always freeze frame it and have a go yourself. They don't do those anymore, do they? Spot the difference competitions, wow. Okay, this is Chiller. Now this is a game we've talked about before. It's a Halloween game because it's based on the Michael Jackson Thriller video, and the Commodore 64 version outlandishly used the Thriller music going to get recalled and reissued with the correct nondescript music, which was okay, actually. It was okay. Now this was quite a good game for Mastertronic on the Commodore 64, but on the Amstrad they've only given it a piffly 33%. So let's compare Commodore 64 this time, the Commodore 64 Chiller with the Amstrad version. Here is a very nice double page spread. It is a preview of the game Doctor Who. Doctor Who. I don't know. I mean, that's obviously Colin Baker there. I don't think I've played Doctor Who on the Amstrad, but I'd like to.
Or would I? Doctor Who, Minds of Terror. It's a pretty lumpy, very basic, very slow platform game. More famous on the BBC Micro, but very expensive game, huge box, terrible gameplay. But what about this? Yes, that is the Amstrad in full effect with the Doctor Who theme tune. Not as bad as I was expecting, to be honest.
And here's a preview of Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo. Now that, I mean, the graphics there. I thought the Amstrad had better colour. That looks like a Spectrum screenshot. It really does.
Here we go then. Not a great game anyway. Kind of a two-platform fighting game. It's a bit odd. But I like the colour of Scooby. He looks pretty correct, doesn't it? Let's check out what the Spectrum version is. Yeah, without those coloured characters, it does look worse. I mean, maybe a little bit quicker. But it's not great, is it? Yeah, side by side, you've got to say. Amstrad looks better.
There's a map for Dundalk. Yeah, Scottish. Yeah, Dundalk. Brilliant role-playing adventure. Early game sequel to Tin and Nog. Okay, what else? Oh, we've got a map for Everyone's a Wally. Everyone's a Wally map. That's very nice, isn't it? Look there, that is from the crash cover of the game, isn't it? So Ollie had already done that, so we might as well go black and white, just use it in the map. Brilliant. Tips, yes, game tips, and by Robin Candy. And Robin Candy used to do the tips for Crash. So he's moonlighting. He's moonlighting on a different format. And yeah, you've got some stuff you have to type out, like a new header for the game, and then holding keys down, and all that sort of stuff, tips and stuff. Oh, we've got a double-sided poster in the middle. Amtix poster there. Wow, that's quite beautiful, isn't it? It's that same thing from the cover, but it's all spread out. To see the whole image. Amstrad's as giant UFOs coming down to invade the Earth. Fabulous. That's more like it. Doppelganger. What is this? Doppelganger for the Amstrad. I don't know what this game is. I definitely want to see what it is. And there's a couple of others there. Defend or Die and Super Sam. Now these are games that did not come out for the Spectrum or the Commodore. $8.95 on cassette, $12.95 on disc. Bargain. Let's check out what these three are like.
Doppelganger is a strange isometric game where you control two different characters. One is this strange, it's like a vase. He's a vase character, snake-infused vase character. Traverse the levels, collecting items, solving puzzles, and then you can switch to the lady. Now I don't know why she has got spiders that follow her around. I found them. Oh, you know, they're not actually getting me. They just follow me between screens. It's bright and cheerful, and controlling two different characters does bring up lots of new puzzle opportunities. Unsurprisingly, Defend or Die is a Defender clone. Oh, potatoes in sunglasses. This is Super Sam, and it's not very super, is it? Literally manoeuvre from the left to the right of the screen, dodging those manholes. Oh, potatoes with spanners.
We're about halfway through now, and a Lords of Midnight map. Yeah, that's hard to fathom. If you're ever trying to fathom Lords of Midnight, well done to you. And I've said this is all about games, but here are some reviews of serious software, Transmat and File Manager. I have no interest in this. DK-Tronics Light Pen for the Amstrad, very nice. And here is the Amstrad Adventure section. They did like to have an adventure section, mainly text-based adventures. And we've got some reviews of Level 9's Red Moon there. They've given that 94%. I think that is the top rated game so far. Ashkeron, I've seen that. It's got a lovely box by Mirasoft. They're only giving that 20%. 20%, that's not a lot. In conclusion, they say, there may be some interesting puzzles in the game somewhere, but they aren't really worth finding. The whole affair seems amateurish and half-finished. Ashkeron, I'm afraid, isn't destined for anything other than oblivion. And it's that kind of writing that kept us hanging on. CRL presents Genesis, the complete adventure creator system. There's quite a few adventure creators. Genesis, it's unusual. I don't know if I've seen it or not, I don't know. Robin of Sherwood, that was quite an obscure game. They've given that 70% based on a TV show starring this guy. Now this is an interesting advert, the Siege of Earth trilogy. That is a Gargoyle Games advert, and you'll know the game Tír na nÓg and Dundarach. Well, the third in that series is Mars Sport, and that's part one of this trilogy, the Siege Earth trilogy. Part one, Mars Sport, part two, Fornax, and part three, Gath. Well, I don't think those games ever came out. I've never ever seen those. If there's some hidden copies of those around, they're worth a lot of money. Now this is something different than Newsfield did back in the early days. This is an order form to buy any of the games reviewed in the magazine. You can literally just, because they all had the prices next to the names, that's why. Because you can put how much you want to spend, put the names in there, send it off, and they'll send you the game. So you can buy all the games that they review. That is pretty neat. That is pretty neat. That's pretty clever. I like it. I mean, remember, this is no downloads or anything. You had to buy them physically. So you just tick them off in the magazine. Oh, I'll buy that. But then, are you really? Who's going to buy that game for 20%? You're selling the game, and then you've given it a review of 20%. And nobody's going to buy it, are they? Gremlins. Now, that is a classic adventure that we all loved, isn't it? Because we all loved the film, that's why. And how much have they given that? 77%. Wow, I like a good competition, and here's another one. Meow, daka daka boom. Get ready for this. 30 Amstrad RS232 interfaces to be won. Now that is history, isn't it? I cannot imagine anything like that ever happening again. I've got to get in this competition. Mum, get me some stamps. I've got to win this RS232 interface. I don't know what to do with it, but I want it. And a dedicated strategy section, Concepts of Conquest. There's just a bit of a blurb all about strategy on the Amstrad. And then some reviews of some classic games like CCS Arnhem there, 54%. Not a lot, considering how many copies of those there are in those massive boxes. Vegan attacks, not vegans, they don't attack, they've got no energy. 13%! 13! That's the lowest, I think. 13%. Let's see what they said about it. I don't know why, but the bad reviews are funnier. The entire game is itself a black hole in disguise, surrounded by a non-event horizon. Clever. But to be fair, I happen to know that this is a very old program that when it first appeared on the machine, for which it was originally written, it was something to be proud of. And its programmer can hardly be blamed for its anachronistic appearance now on the Amstrad. Okay, vegan attack. Consider yourself burned. Back to the arcade games. We've got Macadam Bumper, one of the early pinball games that had a lady on the screen, make you a bit excited. We got Minder, another one. That's one of my classic games. What did they say about Minder? They gave Minder 76%, which is a shame because I really love that game. I love the TV show too, obviously.
Thank you for watching Minder, and goodbye from Arthur.
It's retro, isn't it? The Rocky Horror Show. Widely known, the Rocky Horror Show, as like a beacon of light in the history of CRL, because every game they released was absolute pants until Rocky Horror Show. And it's like, oh, CRL have made a good game. What? I don't believe it. No, honestly, check it out. But they've only given the Amstrad version 69%. Let's go head to head. Let's see Rocky Horror Show versus other formats.
So we start off with the Amstrad, and it does look very, very similar to the Spectrum version. Monochrome, black and white. Okay, no colour clash. But yeah, it's pretty slow and dreary, isn't it? In contrast, the Commodore 64 version really is like an adrenaline rush. Yeah, super fast. Jazzy music and incredibly Commodore 64-like graphics, aren't they? It's actually nothing like the other versions. Here is the Spectrum version, the classic one. I really loved this game when it came out. Yeah, it's very similar to the Amstrad, but faster, side by side. I'm afraid, yeah, the Spectrum edges it.
Here is a nice advert for Gremlin Graphics, Metabolis. I do love that imagery. I always love that cover for Metabolis. And Rocco, quickly, that's the rebrand because it was originally released as Rocky and it got in lots of trouble. Gremlin got in lots of trouble for that. And here's that raid, formerly Raid over Moscow, and they've only given it 75%. A pseudo-sequel to Beachhead. Do we agree? Do we agree? Raid over Moscow, pseudo-sequel to Beachhead. On the Run from Design, formerly Crystal. I don't think it got this good a review on the Spectrum. I think that's better rated on the Amstrad. That's worth checking out, isn't it? On the Run, they've given it 89%. Let's check Spectrum versus Amstrad On the Run.
Now the Spectrum version of On the Run reminds me of the classic Exile on the BBC. If you can imagine Sabrewulf had a thrust button, like the game Thrust or Gravatar, where you are constantly having to thrust up and down. Or Jetpack, like Jetpack meets Sabrewulf. It looks a bit like an Ultimate game, doesn't it? It does look great, and it's fast and playable. But wow, this is the Amstrad version, and it's also fast and playable. But the level of colour on the sprites, it doesn't lift the game. And that's very detailed central character for the game. You can't deny that looks so much better than the Spectrum version. I came into this with trying to have an open mind. Side by side, yeah, the differences are obvious. I think the Amstrad has got this one.
I lied because there's the advert for it, and it was a crash smash. It was a crash smash, so it was a big game on the Spectrum as well. And that advert is very lackluster, isn't it? It's very basic, but you know why they put that advert in? Because they said they'd review if they placed the full page ad. We'll get a review of our game. Let's do it. So they did. Okay, Psychedelia. Now you'll know this is a light show from the legend that is Jeff Minter. Years before he got obsessed with Tetris remakes, he made this light show game for the Amstrad, and they've given it 79%. And it's not easy to play. It's a light show, but yeah, some people like that. So it was different at the time. Stick your music on, stick on Psychedelia. Simple times. You can't imagine people doing that, can you? You know, your family comes round, you're having a bit of a party. Okay, let's stick Psychedelia on the Amstrad and just have the screens show some funny colours to the music. Beautiful times, aren't they? Beautiful times. There's a nice advert for the Firebird Silver range. I just like the jeopardy in their faces there. That's like all their games rolled into one image. I like it when they do that. Thunderbirds at the top. Some lost doctors. I don't know. Strange. This comes back to On the Run. By Design. This is a competition. They've done a competition. Can you design Can you survive a day with design? Then prove that you are as daft as they are. And look, to show how daft they are, they put some photos. This is of... you can't believe it. This is some photos of the guys who made the game on the run at Design. And some photos of them having fun, like jumping in front of a car. I don't know what they're doing there, chasing people down the street, flicking elastic bands out the window, and they're losing their car down the side of a riverbank. It's just insane, isn't it? Can you imagine an advert, you know, saying, oh, if you want to see Shigsy in his spare time, and, you know, he's climbing a Belisha beacon. I don't know, it's bizarre. Games designers having fun. Oh, I definitely want the game now. Bizarre, absolutely bizarre. More reviews. We've got Roland on the Ropes, another classic Amstrad only title. 43%. The Roland games are not very highly rated.
So here is Roland on the Ropes, and you're probably thinking, like I am, that looks familiar. Well, I'm absolutely with you, because this is another classic game on another format. This is Fred by Quicksilver. Here's the Spectrum version. Not only did Alan Sugar steal Sinclair from Sir Clive, he stole Fred from Quicksilver too.
Tank Busters, that's Rommel's Revenge on other formats, but I think they got in trouble for that. People didn't like it, so they've given it 81%. Again, design. They've obviously they've paid to have a competition as well and a full page ad, so they've reviewed 2 of their games. Very kind. I was saying a bonus. Oh, we'll do a competition. I mean, the competition is spend a day at the designs. You're going to be bored stiff. In the 8-bit days, there probably was only about 6 of them working there, crowding around a couple of old Amstrads. I don't know. What are you going to do? Go out for lunch? Weird. Way of the Exploding Fist. Now that is a game we're all familiar with for Commodore and Spectrum. The Amstrad version gets 86%. I think that is a good game to do a comparison of, isn't it? The Way of the Exploding Fist.
We start with the Spectrum, and you know, it is colourful. The background is really lovely and colourful. Mount Fuji is bright pink. I have no idea why. But all the main graphics, the actual characters you are controlling, great animation, but they are black and white outline characters, so it looks like they've got yellow skin. I don't think that's politically correct. And here we go with the Commodore 64 version. Very similar graphics to International Karate and IK Plus. Strange, isn't it? I've always thought they look very similar. It's got those fantastic sampled effects. Every time you make a hit, you get that. And it's got the music too. I like these short bout fighting games. They just kind of died out, don't they? But, you know, you take your opponent down and then you start the bout again. Okay, let's check the Amstrad version. Well, I am immediately missing the music, but graphically it's very good, isn't it? Proper pink faces, good animation. Sound effects are a bit rubbish though, aren't they?
And here is the review for Doppelganger. You've already seen it, you know what it's about. There it is. There's a review. Now, you've seen the game. What do we think that Amtix, those experts in Amstrad gameplay, gave Doppelganger in the review scores? You know what I thought of it? They've given it 49%. What do you reckon? Is that good? Is that fair? Is that fair? I think so. Okay, we've got Elidon. Now that is a game that I really like on Commodore 64. Elidon. I've never seen it for the Amstrad, and they've really filled up a beautiful image of the game on the front there. And the review gives it 78%. 78%. Now, because Ollie Frey was such a legendary artist, he did like to make comic strips that ran every episode, every issue of a magazine. And in Amstrad we had the Terminal Man, and here we have like a proper action comic. It's the kind of thing Ollie Frey really wanted to be doing rather than games covers. So they let him have a chance. And there's loads of it. There's like a double page spread bit of it there. And you follow the adventure month on month. It's a long time between episodes, isn't it? A long time. What has Jin seen? Who is Cross? Find out next month. Oh, tenderhooks. And that brings us to the last page. International Basketball by Elite. Look at this guy's face. I don't know. He just, you know, when they went through this little phase where they're just like some sort of soft focus, like CGI for the sake. I don't know. Graphics technique. where just everyone looks so smooth. Everyone looks so smooth in the 80s. Crazy. It looks like Andy Dufresne, doesn't it? A little bit. Anyway, Amtix, what do we think? Have I changed my opinion of the Amstrad? Do I still prefer the Commodore 64 or the ZX Spectrum? Well, I grew up with the Spectrum and the Commodore. I didn't grow up with the Amstrad. It's very hard to realign your history. You know, those games and those machines are embedded in my soul. They've made my whole life what it is. That's why I am a retro gamer. That's what spurred me to do this, because my love for those early formats. To suddenly interject the Amstrad into that mix and say, largely I would say I haven't seen anything on the Amstrad that's made me think it's more impressive than the Commodore 64 ZX Spectrum versions. If you think I'm unfair, then you obviously grew up with the Amstrad, and that's absolutely fine. You're allowed to disagree with me, because if you grew up with the Amstrad, you're going to think that Amstrad version weed all over the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum, and that's absolutely fine. We all love these games, and we've all got that passion for old video games in common. So let's not get all het up about it. But Amstrad is rubbish. Hey! On that note, thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Happy retro gaming, retro gamers!
Dreams in Japan.